Okay, so this will be mini section 2, and we should be able to finish what we're doing in this section. So let's go back to Pro. This is where we left off. And go to your catalog, okay? And in your GIS data folder, open your CONUS geodatabase and add the playas, okay, the unclassified wetlands, okay? So we'll need to just put it in the hydrology folder. If you're having trouble with that, you could just do that over in the map view. Okay, now let's open up hydrology and let's go to these playas, and we're going to symbolize them the same way with the water bodies in Larkspur, but I want to give them just a little bit of an extra bump, so let's take them up to a 1 point, and that just helps them, they just look better that way. Okay, now what we want to do is show the intimate relationship between terrain and hydrology, because terrain in the beginning dictates how the water that accumulates during a storm flows off of or downhill and eventually into the ocean. However, what's incredible is how water, after centuries, starts to deeply influence the terrain. All you have to do is think about the Grand Canyon. That was all carved out by the Colorado River, okay? And sometimes it doesn't need to take centuries. You know, some flash floods can carve out new washes and new areas where the water just flows much deeper than it ever did before. Okay, so what I'd like us to do is add, let's go back to the catalog here. We can roll that up. And let's go to the databases and add your Yano DEM. Okay, I've done that. Okay, and make sure when you select it that up here in raster layer you have the DRA set. Okay, and let's do the minimum and maximum here, and then we're going to create the contours again, but I don't want to use the focal statistics this time because I think it got a little bit too curvy for us. Okay, so let's come up to analysis. We're going to go to tools. All right, and let's choose contours. And here we go. Let's choose this. Creates a feature class of contours. Okay, and then double click on that. And your input raster is going to be your Yano DEM. Okay. And let's just leave that alone, but let's make sure it's going where we want it to go. Okay. We want to make sure it's going in, you probably only have one project. Just make sure it's going into your 4403 folder. Okay, and here's where we can actually name it what we would like. We can just call it contour. Let's just call it contours and choose save. Now for the contour interval, let's stick with 40, and we're gonna make the base contour, you know what, let's go with 50. And then we can make the base contour at 350. Okay. And this time we just need regular contours, okay? But the maximum vertices per feature, let's do that 50,000. Okay, and then in environments, choose the same coordinate system as your DEM. Okay, and then for your parallel processing factor, if it's your own computer, choose 100. If it's a school computer, choose like 50 or 60. That should be good. Then hit run. Okay, and that worked out pretty quickly. So let's actually remove the DEM, so we can just right click it and remove it. All right, and now we obviously need to change the color of our contours. Okay, so let's click on that, and we are going to, let's give them this 70%. Kind of like that. Just, you know what? Why don't we go with a more natural? These things all have leather brown. Let's do that. Let's see what, and eventually it'll, we're going to use a different mode to blend it. Now let's knock that down to a 0.7. Let's see how that's looking. Okay. So at this zoom scale, it doesn't really look so hot, but what's nice is you can really see how the contours and the hydrology work together. Okay, so let me try one other thing. Okay, because I want to show you that relationship better. And you don't have to do this, but it's important to understand that when you're working with hydrology, you have to, you're at the same time you're working with terrain, and this is this will be a good way to illustrate that. So like I said, you don't have to do this. It might take your computer too long, but let me just show you. If we use this paper cut here, and also keep in mind, guys, as long as you get the fundamentals down, then it's, you know, if you want to symbolize your map with slightly different colors and things like that, I mean, you have to do all the steps, but, you know, it's up to you as to how you want to format it. I'm not really sure why the paper cut's not working. I know that's a big operation, so let me try one quick more thing. Yeah, something's wrong with this. Probably just need to restart. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you're working with hydrology, you really want to show the terrain underneath. Okay, so let's put the contours below. Let's just put it below here. I don't want to get it in this hydrology group. Okay, so that looks good. Now, let's wrap this up. Okay, so we're in layout view. Let's go to layout, and let's zoom all the way out. Now I know we've got work to do, but we'll get this looking. We'll get it looking really sharp. So let's go to our portal. Okay, and we will go to the Living Atlas. Okay, and we're gonna filter by environment and elevation and bathymetry. Okay, and what we're gonna try first is this tinted hillshade. Okay, because what's nice about that is the colors are very symbolic of how the elevation works. It's not just a black and white hillshade. Okay, so let's remove any other files we don't need. We're not going to need the transportation. Okay, so this guy's still rolling. Let's click on him and go to image service layer and do the DRA. And then I'm gonna push pause because, okay, so that came through and then I saved my project. Now, what's glaringly obvious is that the hydrology features are just far too large and dominant. So let's come back here, and it's really the stream that's the issue. So let's right click on stream and go to symbology, and we're gonna make the maximum size here. Let's make that 2 points. Okay, see what a difference that made. And let's make the minimum size 0.25. Okay, that looks good. Now, here's where it can get really cool. Click on hydrology, and now we're going to start using these incredible blend modes. So click on that hydrology and make sure you're in this group layer, which pops up automatically as a new tab, and go to layer blend and choose multiply. Okay, and that's going to help it really kind of, see how it sinks into the map rather than, okay, watch what it looks like without the multiply. See, so these blend modes are really, really cool. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our contours. Click on them, feature layer pops up, and let's choose multiply. Okay, and so you can see they really you know, make a big difference in your map. Okay, now the one thing we're missing is some labels, and I've got a trick that I think you're gonna like, because so come over to the map, and since we put this in from the portal, it's not counted as a base map, so we can add this map called terrain with labels. And now if we hop back here, we get labels. Now remember, this is 2 feet by 1.5 feet, so these labels are going to be fine. They're going to be plenty large, okay, and they're going to look good. Now let's try, the labels are on this reference layer, and if you click on that, let's see, because I think the white would go away. Yeah, that definitely doesn't work. Okay, and the multiply, yeah, the white is just going to go away. So we're going to leave those alone. Okay, those are really your two big blend modes, are multiply and overlay. Okay, and our contours are looking pretty nice. Maybe they could have gotten smoothed out a bit. I actually want to bump up the value of this color. So come here to color properties, and remember, we need to change this to hue, saturation, and value. Okay, and this is your value, so let's crank that up and choose OK, because that's going to go a long way in defining our topography. Now that may have been too much, Lionel. Come on, you're killing these kids. So I'm going to go back here, but this is what, you know, if you want to make a really good map, this is really the kind of stuff that cartographers do, is you just try different things and then it starts to work. I'm just going to change that to a 0.4. Okay, so it's looking, I think that should have been probably just, less is always more. I've learned in life. Okay, now, the last thing we're gonna do is hold down your left mouse button and the control button. And so hold down your left mouse button like you're gonna move this layer, okay? But before you move it, hold down control and it's gonna make a copy of it, okay? And why are we doing that? Well, we can accentuate the contrast of that layer using this technique, okay? So now I just need to stop zooming around because there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm gonna remove one of these. And I'll wait till everything gets loaded. What we can actually do is click on the terrain layer that's on top, okay? And come to image service layer and make this a overlay. And that's gonna look really nice. Okay, and then we're just gonna have to wait for all of that to draw out. Okay, that's just looking beautiful. And you can see the contours. See, when they point uphill like this, it's called a draw. And that is where the water sheds downhill. And it's really a great way to learn how to read topographic maps, because the way they express elevation is with contour lines, and it's also a way to understand your hydrology better. Okay, the one thing I'm going to take off, and I'm going to do this carefully, is in boundaries, I want to take off the counties because it's just kind of sloppy with that. And I want to bump up the state borders to maybe 3.5. Okay. And then those those names, the labeling, we need that to be a black. You know, you always want to use the full spectrum of the color palette. So why the heck isn't that turning black? So you can go to labeling properties and go to symbol. Okay, there they go. See, I tell you. All right, now I also want to bump up my Yano boundary. Okay, that's our AOI. He's our hero. So yeah, there we go. Okay, that's a beautiful map. And it really expresses the terrain hydrology relationship of the Llano Estacado. We did a good job here, guys. So let's do a Control S. Okay, and then come up to Share, and we're going to export this layout. And this should be PDF, okay? If not, like, let's say it's not, just start with any one of those presets, and then you can change this to PDF. Now, make sure it's going into your exports folder. And it's named Hydrology, because we're doing our job with the naming. All of this unselected. Now output as an image. That image will be packaged into the PDF envelope. Make that your compression. Compress vectors at 300 and then uncheck all of that. And then I'm going to push pause now. well, I'm going to export it, and I think okay, you'll just listen very carefully. After this exports, save your work, okay? And then close out of this program. But before you log off of a school computer or any computer, go to your project folder and make sure you have all green check marks, okay? That's the equivalent of you putting a thumb drive in and saving your work. Okay, I think I know you get it. I mean, you guys are doing amazing work. It's just easy to forget sometimes. And with school computers wiping everything out, I don't want you to lose a lot of this good work. Okay, I mean we're putting a lot into it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your notes and your maps, and I'll see you again for Lab 6.